Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're looking at the new recordings of Hearthstone. We're looking at the new expansion of Hearthstone, the Boomsday project. So to look at the new cards from the new expansion, you go into crafting mode, you click include uncraftable cards, and then you click over here to Boomsday. Now, last time we looked at the Warlock, and Warlock, Shaman, Rogue, and Priest all didn't really make any sense, so we're hitting 50-50 here. The first four kind of had some cards that made some sense and felt like they'd add to some synergies or some plans or styles of play, and then the rest, these four, seems like they kind of are just random additions and nothing really amazing or interesting there as far as those character class cards. The last class we have to look at is the Warrior. So it's up in the air to see if these additions make sense to me or not. Could just be also it's getting late in the evening or early in the morning, I guess, in my instance, and maybe I'm just not thinking straight. Well, we're almost done. After this is the neutral cards, and that'll take a while, but then we'll be done. First card we have for the Warrior is a 1 mana, 1 attack, 3 health mech. I haven't been seeing a lot of mechs in the last 4 character classes either. It's called the Eternium Rover. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. Interesting, it says 2 armor instead of gain +2 armor. I think the way this is phrased usually is +2 armor, just so it's super easy to understand. Also, I would kind of put the word gain down here and break the line after the comma, just as a general editing complaint. Next we have a 1 mana spell called the Omega Assembly. Discover a mech. If you have 10 mana crystals, keep all 3 cards. So this is the final character class Omega cards, and this one is actually rather good because you play this on the 10th turn, so you have 10 mana crystals. You, instead of discovering and picking from 3 cards, you just get all 3 of those random cards. You're getting 3 random cards for 1 mana spells that you know are mechs. If you're playing a mech deck, this is going to be very useful. Even if you're not playing a mech deck, there's a decent chance you're going to get at least one that's magnetic, that you can use that feature to buff one of the other mechs. And you'd have 9 mana to play with. So that could be a 1-2 turn win just by playing that and having some random good drops. Next we have a 2 mana spell called Rocket Boots. Give a minion rush, draw a card. Rush is when a minion can attack another minion but can't attack the enemy hero in the first turn that they're played. I'm not really sure, particularly for the Warrior, if you need that, since there's a decent number of minions that already have rush by default, and drawing a card as a Warrior, I'm not sure what the strategy there would be. Next we have a 2 mana spell called Weapons Project. Each player equips a 2/3 weapon and gains 6 armor. This again feels like this is a game that a card that wouldn't make a lot of sense unless you already have like the Toxic Ooze card that destroys your opponent's weapon. So you might be able to play this and then play Toxic Ooze and destroy your opponent's weapon, but you'd still be giving them 6 armor for a 2/3 weapon, which still isn't really worth it. So yeah, this feels like a unuseful card unless there's some kind of trick here. It might be useful to destroy an opponent's weapon by overplaying their current weapon, but even at that you're still giving them 6 armor. The character flavor text here says Harrison Jones was kicked off this project. Harrison Jones being a famous legendary card. Next we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 4 health mech minion called Dynomatic. Battlecry, deal 5 damage, randomly split among all minions except mechs. So maybe as a warrior deck you could make a mech only deck, but I'm not sure. It really is going to boil down to how many neutral cards have mechs in them. And this very possibly is a card that really will only make sense playing wild when you can bring back some of the goblins versus gnomes mech cards and play those. It's kind of cool that they might be throwing a bone to some of the older players who are playing in wild. I know that certainly isn't the main focus of the developers of Hearthstone, Activision Blizzard, but if they're doing anything to kind of make the game in wild a little bit more interesting, that's great. Sadly, even for me though, I just don't have enough cards that I'd ever really want to play in wild. You basically have to have a complete collection until you can play in wild. Next spell we have, well, it's a weapon, is a 5 mana, 1 attack, 3 durability weapon called the Super Collider. After you attack a minion, force it to attack its neighbors. That would be slightly interesting, but it's really expensive. So you could attack a minion in the middle, and then it would attack the minion to the left or right. And I don't know if it attacks the minion on the left first, or the minion on the right first, or if it attacks them both at the same time. I'm pretty sure that minion would be taking damage, so if it attacks the minion to the left of it first and dies, it probably won't attack the minion to the right. There's a lot of questions there, and it's slightly too expensive a card to experiment with. Next we have a 6 mana, 2 attack, 5 health minion, mech minion called the Security Rover. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/3 mech with taunt. It doesn't say what the mech would be called, but whatever. Playing this on the 6th turn. There are, under the warrior cards that are designed to do like 1 damage or just a little bit of damage to a minion, and by doing that it usually unlocks an enrage card ability or gives extra attack or something. So if you were playing that strategy and you had this on the field, it would make a little bit more sense. Let's see. Next we have a 7 mana, 3 attack, 8 health minion, mech minion called the Beryllium Nullifier. Is beryllium a real element, or is it just a Star Trek element? I'm not sure. Somebody'd have to let me know in the comments if beryllium is a real element. Anyways, this mech is magnetic, so if you play it to the left of another mech, it'll add its 3 attack and 8 health, as I understand it, to that mech, and they'll fuse together. If you play this to the right of another mech, it'll keep the 2 separate. Inherently, I guess that means that everybody on the field has some kind of weird magnetic pole to them, where this side is north and this side is south, and magnetic characters have their poles reversed so that north is facing this way and south is facing this way for that card. Nope, that still wouldn't make any sense, would it? Nope, the whole magnetic concept falls apart once you start thinking about it. Alright, because the south on one side would still attract and the north on the other side would still attract. We have a hero replacement card. This is the first and probably, well, actually I know it's the only hero replacement card for this expansion. I like the idea that just whenever they have a good idea for a hero replacement card or a quest card, they just add it. I don't think those concepts were inherently bad to the point where they screwed up. There is probably an argument where I might prefer just different modifiers or RPG like elements on the hero class cards, so that if you're playing a mage, they might have a fire blast spell, but they might have a different spell that maybe freezes enemies instead of doing 1 damage to enemies, or maybe they have a spell that just draws a card, and you can mix things up a little bit that way. They've already got face replacement cards that they're selling, but the replacement of the hero face doesn't replace how the character plays. So this is a 7 mana, 7 armor hero replacement card, which I guess technically is a spell. It has a battle cry for the rest of the game. Your mechs have rush, which is cool. It replaces your hero ability with the big red button. Activate this turn's mech suit power, which I don't know what the mech suit power is, so that's certainly not getting explained. And then we have a 9 mana legendary spell called the Boomship. Summon 3 random minions from your hand and give them rush. I don't think that's particularly a bad deal either. Alright. But I'm not sure how many mechs you're really gonna find even in Wild, because there's a lot of cards that might synergize a little bit, but not much. This hero replacement gives you the ability to deal 1 damage to all minions for more enraged characters. This one destroys all damaged minions. This isn't a mech. It probably should be, though. This is the hero replacement card from the new expansion. We didn't see any cards that really added a lot of armor. Yeah. So if you were going to play those cards, you're basically going to have to pick a lot of neutral cards. Because there's really not a lot here that synergizes with that. We didn't get any weapons. Most of these enemies have something they're already doing, particularly like the charge minions. There is no charge minions getting added. In general, they're trying to get rid of charge minions and replace them with rush minions. So I wouldn't be surprised if we never see another new charge minion in the game. Bouncing blade. Add copies of damage friendly minions. Yeah, there's kind of nothing here even in the wild decks. The Cruel Taskmaster is probably one of the best ones. Or Whirlwind. And then Armorsmith. Very simplistic things. Cards we've seen a lot before. Inner Rage. Yep. There's kind of nothing that synergizes there. And the selection gets only worse. Play 7 taunt minions. I don't think there were any taunt minions added. Yeah, when you're just playing in standard, the selection gets even worse. With a lot of charge minions, a lot of enraged minions. A lot of armor increased things. Yeah. Once again, I guess the last 5 of the heroes have thrown out a lot of cards that don't make a lot of sense to me. Just to look at them again. Like, this one adds armor. Okay, and it's a mech. This one gives you 3 mechs, so if you're gonna make a mech deck, that's great. This one really doesn't seem like you'd ever want to play it. This one seems like you don't ever want to play it. This one would work in a mech deck and nothing else. I don't think I'd want to play that. That works in the mech deck. That works in the mech deck. That works in the mech deck. And this one probably works with anything. So it's almost trying to get you to replace all of your cards in Warrior with just mechs, which is going to be hard depending on how many cards here are mechs. And that's what we'll look at in the next recording. We've got slightly more neutral cards than anything else. It seems about 5 pages, so 5 times 8 gives you about 40, 45 more cards being added, where there was 10 cards for each of the hero classes, which means we've seen 90, which would put the total somewhere around 135. I imagine I'm miscalculating and it's somewhere closer to 160. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.